On today's episode of The Front Row, we are downtown in the Lubbock Cultural District at CASP, which is the Charles Adams Studio Project. And joining us today is Rachel Shipley and Chad Plunket. Thanks to you both for being our guests on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So let me ask you both, to begin with, a little bit about each of you and the sort of the journey that has brought you to be here at CASP. Rachel, let me start with you.
Yeah, so I came to Lubbock in early to mid 2022 to be a part of the Arts Administration MFA program at Texas Tech. And one of the requirements for that program is to do an internship out in the community at a local arts nonprofit. And I had considered a couple different places, and then my friend Sean recommended to me interning at CASP. And so I started interning at CASP in January of 2023 and just kind of fell in love with the organization and the work and the place in Lubbock. And so as I completed my MFA, I continued to work here and continued to get more involved. And then right before I graduated, I started a full-time position here as the Programs and Development Coordinator. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
And here you are. I love that.
And here I am.
That's excellent. Chad, what about you?
So my background is in sculpture. I have a Master of Fine Arts. And then I was trying to be a college professor, and it wasn't working. So I went back to school, and I was working towards a master's in landscape architecture, which I did eventually earn. But I was trying to write this thesis, and I was working all day. In the heat, I was doing landscape maintenance stuff, and I was not writing my thesis. And a friend of mine was the picture framer for Charles Adams Gallery, and he was moving. And I said, Pete, do you think I could have your job? And he said, let's go talk to Charles. And I met Charles, talked to him. I became the picture framer. That's 2009. And that's right when Charles got the seed money from Margaret Talkington for CASP to begin. Now, nothing officially came online really until 2010, 2011. But really, Uwe Flukiger, who's now the Dean of the College of Architecture, he was our architect. He really set the visual vocabulary for CASP. So he would come and we would all have lunch in the little frame shop in Kingsgate. And I was really just a little birdie that I was like, well, if I was an artist and lived there, this is what I would want. And so eventually stuff started to come online, and we moved the gallery down here. At some point, it really became a bigger operation, and they needed someone with day-to-day just running around. And so I became project manager. And then at some point, we ran out of business cards. And our business card said Charles Adams, director, Chad Plunket, project manager. And when we ran out of those business cards, Charles said, why don't we just call me founder and we'll call you director? And I said, great. So then that's how I became the director of the Charles Adams Studio Project. And so in some ways, I've been here from the very beginning. I guess my official paid role started in 2010-ish, and I've been here from the ground up.
Right. Wonderful. Well, it's great to know a little bit of historical context for the two of you. What about CASP itself, the Charles Adams Studio Project? You hinted that there was some seed money to begin it. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about its history and where it's come to today.
Yeah, so Charles was in a mayor's luncheon in like 1998, 1999, and Louise Underwood gave a presentation to the mayor basically pitching the idea of what is now the Louise Hopkins Underwood Center for the Arts. And Charles was in that meeting, and he said to himself, if that ever happens, I would want my gallery down there, not knowing if or when it would happen. And so obviously we know Luca now exists. And so then Charles started making moves to make that happen. One of the things he did, which I think is a very cool story, is he had a complete set of Andy Warhol soup cans, the print series. He had a whole portfolio of them. He sold those to the Museum of Modern Art in Australia. And so that was really the initial seed money for him to be able to move his gallery down here. And then I don't exactly know how it happened, but Margaret kind of heard that and was kind of like, Charles, maybe I could help you. And he said no. And then she asked him again later, and he said no again. And then at some point she looked at him and she said, Charles, if I help you, you could do more. And if you could do more, what do you think it would be? And so his goal was to move his gallery here and create some sort of a live-work situation for himself. And then he just kind of said to himself, well, if I would like that, maybe other artists would like that. So what if we did a live-work thing? And so then he went to Margaret and was like, this is what I think I would do.
And this is Margaret Talkington.
Margaret Talkington.
Yes, right. Yeah.
And so that's why, even to this day, Charles Adams Gallery is a for-profit gallery, and then Charles Adams Studio Project is a 501c3 nonprofit. And so we are kosher with the IRS and all of those things. But that's why those two different visions share the same name, are both engaged in the arts, but engaged in different ways. Yeah.
Right. Well, this is thrilling to me because as a youngster, you're talking about all the heavy hitters. Louise Hopkins Underwood, Charles Adams, Margaret Talkington. I mean, these are people that, and this is a specific example of the kinds of things they did in our community.
Yeah.
And that's really profound to me, and I'm sure to a lot of people, right?
Well, and I tell people, Margaret, she would be driven around and she would drive through the arts district, and I would see her, and if Charles was there, he would go out and talk to her. If he wasn't there, then I got really scared because I would have to go to the car and she'd roll the window down and I'd have to give her the construction update as to what was going on, because Margaret's thing was, she was like, I'm not the idea person. You guys have great ideas. She's like, I have a checkbook. But she's like, if I give you money, I expect you to do what you're told or what you said you would do. Right. And so she would come check on us. And I was like, oh man, Charles isn't here today. Okay. What's our update? What's our progress? Because I was like, if she yanks this money, I know I'm in trouble. But she was a great supporter. Many great memories with Louise and Charles before, during, and after First Fridays. We used to do post First Friday get-togethers in Charles's residence, and she would sit at his dining room table, and I mean, I don't want to say she drank us under the table, but she held her own. Yeah. And we just laughed a lot and talked about art, and a lot of fun.
That's great. Rachel Shipley, once you moved from the intern position into a full-time position, what did they want you to do, and what have you sort of fulfilled since that time?
Yeah, so CASP, like we said, is about 15 years old, and really what had happened was I happened to just enter the space at a time in which the organization was ready to grow. And so the big goal in bringing a second person online, because CASP had really only had one full-time employee ever, was to grow capacity in a lot of areas, but most specifically, we're in the middle of a capital campaign for the construction of 4 new live-work studio spaces, and then also a creative education space. And so the vision for that is to continue to expand programmatically what our scope is, but to also really partner with community stakeholders like Lubbock ISD and Texas Tech to have a wider impact on the community and utilize the artists that we are providing studio spaces to downtown to inspire not only the general population of our community, but specifically people who are in school and provide them artistic experiences that wouldn't be possible without an external organization like CASP.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned several things. Let's kind of tie that all together. Mm-hmm. You talked about places for people to stay. I assume that means in residence, to like live here and work here.
Yeah.
So you have that, but also you have what all does CASP do? What do you provide?
So our mission statement is that we provide studio spaces for working artists that actively engage the public with art. And so that kind of means 3 specific things for us right now. One is our live work studio. So we have 4 of those that exist in the arts district where our artists live and then also create work in the front of those studio spaces. And then we have 8 work studios And so you can kind of tell the difference in the names. We don't have artists living in those studios, but they are working, creating work. And a lot of them are either small arts organizations here in Lubbock or artist collectives where they're working together and either collaboratively building work or building work in the same place. And then we have our community or public studios, and these are more public facing. And so our artists who live and work here can utilize those studios, but also the general public can come and learn from those local artists about their art making practice. And so we have the Helen DeVitt Jones print studio, and then we have the CH Metals studio, and then we also have 5 & J Gallery, which hosts 12 shows a year from both local, international, and national artists each year.
Okay, that's a lot.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of art making, and you all have the facilities and the things that people need to make their vision come true, I guess.
And the goal with the new facilities is to continue to expand our ability to serve the demands of the community. That we always have to turn away more people than apply for either our residencies or the exhibition series, simply because we lack the space to accommodate all those people. And so by expanding our facilities, we expand our ability to impact the direct community here in Lubbock, but also surrounding communities who don't have access to art programming at the level that we do here in Lubbock, and then also the artists who are coming to us from all over the country and all over the world.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So, Chad Plunket, if I find out that you have this live work opportunity, so how do I get hooked up if I think that's for me and something I could do?
First, I encourage everybody to follow us on our social media stuff. It's the most up to date. So we have Facebook and Instagram. If you type in CASP or Charles Adams Studio Project, you'll find us. And whenever we have any opportunities, whether it's exhibitions or live work or whatever's going on like that, we make a post there, and there's always some sort of a link, and you get to the website. And then the website will have the process for doing that. We have an exhibitions committee that's made up of some board members, some local artists. Myself is on that committee, and it's an open application. We don't put a lot of qualifiers on it. We, as a committee, whatever the opportunity is, we're the visual arts, and so we look at the images, we look at the pictures, and we go, hey, that's cool, I'd like to show that, or hey, that's a really sweet piece, wouldn't it be neat if that person lived in one of our studios? And I do tell people this, that we look at their resume second or even third on our ranking system. That, we don't care if you're 18 and only have a high school degree, or you're 60 something and you've had an international art career. Like, we really want to see the work. We want to see what you're going to bring to enrich our creative community here, and then see what you want to do, if it's an exhibition or a live or whatever it is. And I'm proud of that, because we've had a real diverse group of people that have come through in our history. In 5 & J Gallery, we have exhibited probably 100,000 pieces of art at this point. We do 12 shows a year. Sometimes it's a solo show. We had a show one time that had 100 different artists that had pieces in the show. Our live work studios have hosted over 50 artists now that have, like we said, have lived and worked in those spaces. And it's been all sorts of people, from musicians to painters to poets, to different band groups to theater, and then people that are drawers or sculptors and maybe the things that we maybe typically think about, to also people that were writing a movie, and so they were working on their screenplay. And so we want to be able to offer our space to a really diverse artist group. One of the things we say around here is that our studios without artists in them are just empty rooms, and so we really want to pursue the best, highest quality kind of people that are pursuing something that we've never seen before. I tell people one of my favorite things is, whether or not it's in print studio or in metals, but maybe I've been gone for the weekend and I come back and all of a sudden someone's made something, and I go, oh my goodness, that didn't exist when I left on Friday, and now it's Monday morning and this thing exists now, and that's the coolest thing to me. Yeah.
What would you say is an average length of stay for someone to come and do their work?
Our live work studios, since we only have 4 of them and we really want to kind of provide that opportunity, that caps out at a 2-year stay. Our work studios behind us, those are on a 1-year lease with the option to renew. And our longest running tenant right now is 806 Collective. Now it ebbs and flows. I'm not actually sure any original members exist anymore. But it's been a band of artists where basically we rent our spaces as cheaply as we can, but it still doesn't mean it's affordable to everybody.
Right, yeah.
And so it's a group of artists that go, I can't afford this on my own, but if we band together, now it's only $30 a month or it's $40 a month. And so 806 is our longest running. They've been here a while. I don't know the math on that. To then some people that do maybe a 6-month, they have a specific project in mind. So they come, we get them a space, they build their project, and then, they're moving on to another place or another opportunity.
Right. I see. That's great. Rachel Shipley, we have a First Friday coming up. I assume that this would be, is this where people try to make sure they have something? I mean, do they try to time it so that there's opportunities for their work to be seen? How does that work?
Yeah, so I would say I keep referring to First Friday as like a way to kind of speed date all of the artists here in the Arts District, because it's the one time where everybody's open all at the same time every month, and a lot of times you are seeing something new. So we change over our exhibition in 5 and J every month. We'll have a new artist on our stage. The print studio will have different people and different work up, and a lot of our artists will introduce whatever they've been creating for that month to the public during First Friday. And that's not to say that that's the only time of the month that our spaces are open, but it's a really good time to come and see everything that's new, whether it's stuff that's happening in our space or stuff that's happening across the street at Luca or down the block at other places that are on the trail. And so we really love the energy of having thousands of people down here every month and just engaging with the work that's being created. And I think it continues to push people to try new things and make more stuff. So.
Right. And sell their product.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, no, I think one of the biggest pluses of the Arts District is it brings people down here for large events like this and helps sustain hundreds and hundreds of small businesses in our city. I mean, we have food trucks that we see here every single month for years, and then also all the other art-making small businesses, and so I think it's a huge economic driver for the city of Lubbock.
That's great. Excellent. Well, thank you both so much. Rachel Shipley, Chad Plunket, thank you so much for being our guests on the front row today.
Thank you.
Thank you.